Hey everybody, it's Jim, it's Amadeus, and we couldn't be happier than to have you all with us this afternoon. Amadeus, we're here in the middle of the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, and baseball's going, and sometimes it's fun to talk about the broadcast aspect of who's handling this, and you're in Canada, so I'd like, you're going to be able to give us some idea of, what's the pre-game, post-game, halftime, period break type shows are, so that we can kind of compare and contrast and have a little fun with it. So when you watch basketball, do you happen to have a specific play-by-play or color team that you like, when you watch the games?
Yeah, not a specific commentary team myself, really. I mean, we only have the one basketball team, and we have there's a specific person that tends to do it, and he also does the halftime shows and things like that. So it's not a lot of variety up here because TSN gets all the rights to that, but definitely for basketball, if I had to pick a favorite crew, it would be the boys over at TNT for sure.
Yeah, Ernie and Shaq and Charles and Kenny have been together for almost 27 years. That's a long time to be working together. And as we game out, right, the new rights fees for the NBA, this is the first year since Turner, and now it's Warner Brothers Discovery, has had the exclusive window, which basically means that ESPN and Turner had up until last Tuesday to put bids in and basically tie up the NBA rights. The folks at Warner Discovery, which is Turner now, did not. NBC put in a bid because they didn't put in a bid, meaning Warner Discovery didn't put in a bid. So now Amazon came in and picked up a package. ESPN is locked in, and we're waiting to find out how this whole thing works out. And we're about to find out if Charles and Kenny and Shaq and Ernie stay together, or if the gang, if the bands get breaking up.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be disappointing if the band breaks it up. Obviously, Chuck is in a situation where he can get out of his contract if TNT doesn't have the rights. He's a free agent essentially. But then you have Ernie saying that he's not leaving Turner. So it's a sticky situation because unless the rights stay there, you can go hire Chuck and all these other guys, but you're not going to have Ernie. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to recreate the magic that we've seen there for 27 years.
Yeah, the chemistry is what makes it good, and even ESPN quit trying. I mean, they're not. I mean, they have they had tried numerous packages of people to make this work, and they never could find it. And that's no shade on the thousands, seemingly, people that have done the NBA pre and post game shows for ESPN. But they have it. Now, in fairness, to be good, Mike Breen, who is a longtime buddy of mine, Mike does a magnificent job for ESPN as their lead play-by-play guy. And he's been paired with a number of different people over the years. But Mike does a really, really good job there. And Kevin does a good job over at Turner too, but I think Mike would get the nod there. You're right. You can't hire chemistry, and that's what they're looking for, and we'll see how that plays out as we go forward. I mean, NBC can hire people. NBC can hire, as you said, all three of them. But the thing with Ernie is tied to Atlanta. Okay, his family's there. He has children who have disabilities, so he doesn't like to go far from home. He can still do baseball because Turner has baseball, and Ernie does baseball, so he can do that. He also can do. They still have the college basketball package with CBS, so he can still be involved with that. So there's stuff for Turner, Ernie to do at TBS and TNT. There, but basketball just wouldn't be one of them. So I honestly think that we're going to see Adam Silver figure out a way to get both NBC and Warner Discovery in there, because I think it would be bad for the game and certainly for the broadcast standpoint. Bad for the game if you lose those guys. You can't lose those guys. You got to keep them together, keep the band together. Hopefully they'll figure out a way to do it. So we'll find out what the posted.
Absolutely, you can't lose these guys. And Jim, it makes me a little worried, just because from what we've seen from Adam Silver these last few years, it's like he goes out of his ways to find a way to make the product worse. But this is not one of those ways. Hopefully he does the right thing here and tries to figure something out to keep them together, because as you said, it makes the product better. And, before the show, you even mentioned how they bring in the casual fan. And look at someone myself, like we have our own stuff up in Canada. We don't really get that we have the TSN crew, but if you're going to give me a choice every day of the week, I'm going to take the TNT crew over the TSN crew. And same even goes with like college sports. Like I tend to watch the CBS Sports crew more than I watch any of the TSN stuff like that, just because I like the group they have over there at CBS Sports, and they're a little different because it's not always the same four guys in there. They switch it up. They have a bit of a rotation, but that's what I mean. They all have good chemistry. And hey, if you don't believe that, we could just hire, the chemistry's not an aspect, man, go look at, there's so many examples in sports alone. Like go look at any team that spent all this money to bring in every superstar in the league and on the planet to their team, and then the team goes and wins nothing.
Right.
Chemistry's the thing.
Well, chemistry's the thing. And, from a television standpoint, there are guys who, I mean, I think that the Toronto Blue Jays, for instance, with Dan Schulman and Buck Martinez, have probably the best broadcast team duo in Major League Baseball, because they work so well together. They feed off each other. And I think that, Schulman is the right temperament for a guy like Buck. Buck gets excited, sometimes a little overexcited. Dan doesn't. He's a very even keel guy. So, even though I've been in this business for 40 plus years, I've always said no one tunes in to watch a broadcaster. Okay. They tune in to watch an event. That one exception is people who will tune in to watch the NBA on TNT show with Ernie and the gang. And so you get the casual fan, and you get the fan who likes basketball. Great story from Michael Wilbon, who Mike, for so many years, ESPN had him on the halftime show. And Michael said that even his mother would ask him, call and say, "What time is Chuck on tonight?" And he would say, "Well, he's on TNT, Mom." She goes, "Oh, I know where he's on." So she would even watch him before she'd watch her own son on, with ESPN. So that tells you pretty much what you need to know from that standpoint. And we're about to come into a season where CBS has totally revamped their entire Sunday crowd with James Brown and the gang, and no longer will Phil Simms and Boomer Esiason be part of that crew. they're only adding one person, and that person is the former Atlanta quarterback, Matt Ryan. So he's coming over to CBS, and that's he'll be there with the coach and Cower, and they're freshening up, I guess is how you put it, but they're doing it, and there you go. So it's funny. You had mentioned a little bit about college before. The amount of press and the amount of following from a college standpoint on college campuses, from when game day is there or ESPN, is just amazing. The amount of people that show up at 8 o'clock in the morning for a game that doesn't, isn't going to start, some, it's phenomenal. I just, it's a happening to have them come to your campus, which, is why Fox decided to leave the studio and head out to the college campus, regardless of, whether in some cases they're not even doing the game. They just go to the Big Ten event, game, and there they go. So it's an interesting situation, to be sure.
Yeah, I think, a lot of that has to do with the football fever, obviously. But yeah, definitely. I mean, College Game Day obviously has Pat McAfee now, who was very popular on YouTube before he got the deal with ESPN. So some people say his deal with ESPN made the show worse. So it's one of those things, though, right, where like people, I've always disagreed with that statement you said that people don't show up for the broadcasting, and I that's just a personal feeling I have, because personally, me and my friend were devastated when Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels, broke up, because that we were tuning into Sunday nights for it didn't matter who was playing. It could have been the two worst teams, but we knew we were getting Carrie Underwood and Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth every Sunday night. So it was, it was like a tradition for us. And even, recently I went to go see a movie in the theater, had no idea what the movie was about, couldn't care for it less. The only reason I went is because the entire movie was narrated by one of my favorite, voice actors. So this is what I mean. I think people with the right voice, I totally think that people would tune in for broadcasting. I've said it many times. I would watch a high school football game if you told me Al Michaels was commentating it. So there are definitely things like that. If you got the right guy in there, I'll tune in for sure.
Do you believe in miracles? Yes. Al, there's a funny story too, a great story on how Al got to NBC. Because Al, of course, was at ABC when when NBC got the package, and he was doing Monday Night Football. ESPN had, NBC had gotten the Sunday rights, and then flipped over. ESPN got the, took over Monday. So Al had in his contract that he would not work for ESPN. He worked for ABC. He worked for ESPN. Well, ESPN and ABC are the same company. So he made it clear, guys, I'm not going to do this. And so they're like, okay, we have to figure out how this. And John Madden wanted him. It almost was Chris Collinsworth and John Madden on the Sunday night games on NBC, because they had tried Chris as a play-by-play guy. Because the only guy John wanted was Al. That was it. I mean, not that John was being a diva. It was just that I want Al. So they had to figure out a way to do this. So here's what they did. NBC Universal owned the first cartoon character that Walt Disney ever made. They owned it. It was Oscar the Rabbit. They traded Oscar the Rabbit and some golf to ESPN ABC for Al Michaels. So Al Michaels came to be able to do Sunday Night Football with Collinsworth and Madden because of Oscar the Rabbit. So You know, that's the
So
first time.
what I'm hearing there is they got superstar Al Michaels
Right.
for their 35-year-old veteran and a few future round draft picks.
Basically, yes. They had golf coverage that they didn't have before, and they got to complete their Disney collection of Disney characters, Oscar the Rabbit. So yeah, Al went there, and
Not an
then
iconic one. I've never
no,
heard of Oscar the Rabbit.
you probably won't. The other part to this funny equation is that I think a lot of people, yourself obviously included, were upset when NBC chose not to renew Al's contract.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when they chose not to do it, um, you know, didn't take long for the phone from Amazon to say, "Oh, by the way, would you like to, do our Thursday night football?" And so Al had to it had to be explained to him what streaming video was, but eventually, but Al has no problem cashing checks, so he came over. I think the interesting thing to me was um, their attempt. They're getting Kirk Herbstreit to be the color guy. He turned out to be really good. I didn't know what was going to happen. He was super on football, on college football, but I didn't know what was going to happen on doing the pro game. But he's come off very well. I mean, I think Amazon has done a very good job of broadcasting Thursday night football, and Al and Kurt have been solid.
Yeah, not just that, even the halftime crew they put together with
Mm-hmm.
Marissa Thompson and the former players there. That
Yeah.
solid chemistry, and just you get a little bit of everything. Even sending Marshawn Lynch on the road for his little skit that he does. So absolutely, they've thought of everything. They even got 2 Chainz to do a music thing after the game. Al Michaels is going hanging out with 2 Chainz after every game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they've put together a real good job with the broadcast.
I'll tell you who's been the under the radar star to me has been Fitzpatrick. I mean, basically it's hilarious because everywhere he goes, he for the telecast, he's played. So there's people are saying, "Yeah, good to see you again." He goes, "Yeah, good to see you. Welcome back." It's like, it goes, "Nobody bought my jersey. I don't see any of my jerseys here." And
playing third string today in case we need you.
Right. He actually, that was kind of funny that you bring that up. When Cleveland needed a quarterback, they called Ryan Fitzpatrick before they called Flacco.
Oh, wow.
And Fitzpatrick goes, "Wait a minute, I'm having too much fun. I don't want to, I appreciate the offer, but you know what? I'm cool doing the television. I'll do that. You go ahead and go find yourself a quarterback." And so they called Flacco. But yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. I'm pretty sure the number was 8 or 9 teams that Ryan Fitzpatrick played for.
Well, you know what? At least with him, you get the fact knowing every Thursday night has an emergency goalkeeper, similar to the NHL. You get the emergency quarterback. If 6 guys go out, got someone that can dress for either side here. Just give him some pads.
Just run him out there, and he'll still make the post game show. He's also the only, to the best of my knowledge, he's the only Harvard graduate that's on college or pro football's roster of talent. So that's kind of funny as well. The next couple of days are very big on the soccer side. You've got the semifinals of the Champions League. So what say you on that, my friend?
Yeah, absolutely. We got some wild ones, Jim. We got the second leg of PSG and Dortmund today. So obviously Dortmund has a surprising 1-0 lead from that first leg at home. They played very well, but this was one we talked about where these two actually faced each other in the group stage. Now in the group stage, Dortmund tied at home 1-1. They ended up getting the 1-0 win in the last leg. But in the group stage, PSG beat Dortmund 2-0 at home. So it's going to be interesting here. PSG, they did look good in that game against Dortmund. They had their own scoring chances, and they're going to have to be on the front foot from the start of this game. So it's going to be exciting one. And tomorrow, arguably, I think the better game of the two is Real Madrid hosting Bayern Munich. We got that one's tied 2-2 on aggregate from the first leg. Real Madrid scored an early goal. Bayern ended up scoring 2 right out of the half to take a 2-1 lead, and then with about 15 or so to go, they gave up a penalty for Real Madrid to tie it 2-2. But this is going to be another exciting one. Obviously, Real Madrid is a team that's had a lot of Champions League success over the last few years. Bayern Munich, not so much Champions League success the last few years, but they do have a coach in Thomas Tuchel who took Chelsea to the Champions League final and beat Manchester City just a few years ago. I believe that was in 2021 or 2021, one of those years. But yeah, so this is definitely, the little bit of experience. And obviously, Bayern's got Harry Kane there. He's won a Champions League over at Tottenham when they were good years ago. So, yeah, definitely a lot of experience on both sides, a lot of youth on that Real Madrid side. That's going to be another exciting game.
Do you have, are you surprised, I guess would be a better way of putting it, that 2 teams from the Bundesliga are in the Final Four?
So I'm not actually too surprised, believe it or not. I actually saw I wrote an article a few months ago that you can check out on BigAl.com when the Champions League, right after the group stage, when the round of 16 started. I actually picked Bayern Munich at plus 500 to win the Champions League. So I'm hoping they find a way to come through tomorrow and get to the final there. But honestly, Dortmund, I'm not too shocked just because they got a little lucky with the they got a little lucky with the path that they've had. Obviously, the group stage is surprising. They had a tough group. They had AC Milan, they had Newcastle and PSG in their group. So to make it out of that was pretty impressive. And then, their knockout path hasn't really been that strong. And a lot of people have been, I hear a lot of crap about Dortmund because right now I believe they're in 5th in the Bundesliga. They're not even, right now they're in a Champions League spot because the Bundesliga has the 5 Champions League spots for next year. You got 2 teams in the semifinals. So they're one of those teams there that haven't performed the best in the league. But to call them a bad team, I hear a lot of shade at Dortmund, and I don't know. When I watch the team, I don't see that. I see a very good and competent group of players that are comfortable playing with each other and understand what they need to do on the pitch. So it really doesn't shock me. It shocks me more to see PSG reach the semifinal than having Dortmund here, believe it or not. And Dortmund has the 1-0 lead in the tie. So go figure that. I know quite a few had PSG to take some kind of lead in that away match last week, but I wasn't buying it. I was on the under in that game last week, which obviously cashed, but I was this close to taking Dortmund. Something about these German teams. Like I said, I have Bayern to win the whole thing, and just something about these German teams this year in Champions League. They're too good. And then look at Leverkusen. Even obviously they have a chance to go to the Europa League final, but they're arguably the best team in all of Europe right now. They've won the Bundesliga they have a 15-point lead over Bayern in second. Like that, they've already clinched the title, and now they're just focusing on winning the Europa League. But yeah, if they were in Champions League, I wouldn't doubt Leverkusen's ability to be, in the semifinal either. So a lot of strong German teams this year for sure.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things and by the way, you can watch both those games on Paramount Plus. So if you are wondering where to find them, not a problem. Paramount Plus is where you got to go. In Canada, where are they on? Are they on Fubo or where?
In Canada, they're on DAZN.
Oh, DAZN, right? Okay, so there you go. Canada, DAZN, here, it's on it's Paramount Plus. The uh, the amount of money that a Champions League title gives you, I think, is underrated. I mean, you can make more money by winning a Champions League than you can win by winning the Serie A or a number of leagues in in Europe. So to win the Champions League, when you start cashing that check, that's a pretty big check.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because it's one thing to win your league, be the best team in your country. It's another thing to take that, challenge other countries around you, and be the best team on the continent. And you'll even see it. A lot of these lesser, weaker teams that find a way to get into Champions League or by winning. We saw one year Toulouse got it. I don't know if it was Champions or Europa League, but they won the Coupe de France and they got in there. So sometimes these lesser teams sneak in, like Sevilla and things like that. And even in Europa League, we notice, they don't perform well in the league that next year because they're focused on doing well in Champions League and or Europa League. And that's right. That's what it's about. That's the top priority, performing well in Europe. And Napoli is a great example. They won the league by 20 points last year in Serie A. And, they put their efforts on Champions League this year. They ended up getting eliminated, but they put so much focus on Champions League that now in Serie A, they're not even in a conference league spot for next season. They're in no European competition. And it's very likely that, their star player, Victor Osimhen, is going to be leaving in the transfer window.
Wow. So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of money and it seems to be getting more each and every year. So, that's something to look out for from that standpoint. And, we've got that, and we're seeing with just downshift over real quick to the NHL. Boston, after a nail biter the other night with the Leafs and winning that series, ends up just blasting a little daylights out of the Panthers last night.
Yeah, it's funny that game it went the same way too, because it was scoreless for like a period and a half basically, and it's just a funny thing to me because the same thing happened in Florida that happened to the Leafs. They scored the first goal and then it was like it lit a fire in Boston. But look, it's okay. Florida's got Boston right where they want them. They came back on them last year, and frankly, I think this Boston team, that's how you beat them. You have to come back from behind because they tend to get complacent with leads. Whereas when they're trailing, it kind of motivates them. But notice, they lost last year being down 3-1, being up 3-1. They almost lost. They almost blew the 3-1 lead again in the last round. And there's been a few times in those situations in their series where they've had leads in games and blown them in elimination games with a chance to close out a series. So they're just that kind of team, man. They're lazy. They get complacent with leads, and Florida's got them right where they want them. They'll win the next 3 straight and have them on the brink of elimination.
There you go. I can honestly say the first game of the Knicks and the Pacers did not evoke any thoughts back to the Reggie Miller Pacers and the Patrick Ewing Knicks. The Knicks just toyed with them for a while and then decided, okay, we're just going to bury them. And they did. So maybe it's just game one, who knows? But it did look like a mismatch last night.
Yeah, I don't know. The Knicks, they didn't look great in that game. They struggled a lot at times. We'll see what happens in game 2, right? I didn't think the Pacers were going to put up that much of a fight. We'll see, but man, how about them Timberwolves already? 2-0 lead going back to Minnesota against the defending champions. Just unbelievable.
Well, you've been on the Timberwolves from the beginning. You thought they were going to be a tough out, and clearly they are going to be a tough out. There's no question about that.
And Edwards, I mean, he keeps denying the rumors, but so many people comparing him to Michael Jordan. It's like he's embodied the spirit because he's got 40 points in almost every game he's played, and They've covered, 6 straight spreads. They haven't lost a game in the playoffs. They've played 6 games.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I mean, you got to like that. Now, the other part to that equation is that the deal with the Knicks is they'll get another home game at the Garden tomorrow. And tonight we get the Celtics and Cleveland play each other. On paper, Boston should win, but games aren't played on paper. We'll have to see how it plays out. What's the odds on that one?
What do you think the spread is in that game?
Boston and Cleveland?
Yeah.
6.5, something like that.
Boston is a 12-point favorite at home.
Okay.
And I mean, they beat
not to me, but okay.
I was gonna say they beat the Heat by 20 in every game, but the Heat were without Jimmy Butler. I mean, they're missing Kristaps Porzingis tonight as well. So
yeah.
We'll see what happens. I think Jarrett Allen's going to be out for the Cavaliers as well. So it's going to be a bigless game. We're going to have Evan Mobley and Al Horford battling the glass.
Right. This is a mess. Speaking of a mess, Lakers. Oh my God.
Cleared out the coaching staff for the next LeBron.
They cleared out the coaching. They sacrificed. Right. That's a good way of putting it. They sacrificed the coaching staff. The coaching staff, by the way, they're not too pleased, and they let it know that they were not too pleased. They blasted everybody. I mean, there was not the only person I think that did not get blasted was the equipment manager. Everybody else on the team got blasted. I mean, they just, I guess they realized, what do we got to lose, right?
You know what it was, right? Anthony Davis played so well this year that they couldn't scapegoat him. He was playing with that energy like, you're not blaming this sweep on me this time, right? Find someone else.
Right.
There goes the coaching staff.
And you kind of wonder who wants the job.
I know, right? Like what? And if you're the coaching staff at the same time, you got to think to yourself. You knew what you were getting into. Anybody that takes this job has to know what they're getting into here with LeBron.
100%. I mean, I remember back when Doug Collins was coaching the Chicago Bulls, and Michael came, and Michael loved Doug. He helped him, got him, to a point where he, realized, okay, this is what you can do. This is what you need to do. And I mean, Doug is a consummate teacher, and he did a very good job in ushering Michael from North Carolina to the NBA. And but there was a time when they just couldn't get past Detroit. So they brought in Phil Jackson, and Phil Jackson created an offense that actually Michael liked better than Doug's. Michael wasn't a coach killer. That was true. There was some, and we've all seen, well, not everybody, but most people have seen the Laker, the Laker deal on there's the streaming series, the saga of what goes on with when Jerry Buss took over the Lakers. Where Magic pretty much, he didn't coach the team, but he definitely was involved. But again, even Magic, when they finally settled on Pat Riley, that wasn't a problem either. So LeBron, though, I mean, everywhere he's gone, a coach has been fired, except, and we talked about this earlier one day, Eric Spoelstra in Miami. He tried, but that didn't work. Pat Riley told him, go down, play basketball, and leave me alone. Listen to Spoelstra. He's the guy.
And Spoelstra, he's proven himself. Obviously, he's the coach of the U.S. men's team. He's shown the success with Miami these last few years, when they brought Jimmy Butler in and that. And hell, Spo's so confident in himself, even came out, was like, Kevin, if you just came here like I told you to, you would be the best player in the NBA and winning all these championships yourself, but you decided to be the bandwagon and go to Golden State. So
Yeah,
she just came to Miami.
right. Absolutely. So I don't know what's going to happen with the Lakers next season. It'll be a very interesting situation from that standpoint. We'll have to see what goes on. But you would think the Lakers' job is would be a job that people would kill for. That just isn't the case anymore.
Not until LeBron leaves. Then it'll be
maybe. But you got to have players to win, and they don't have a lot of. They're not a very deep squad by any stretch of imagination.
Yeah, because every year they lose, and then LeBron's like, the team's not good enough. We need to overhaul the roster, and then they mortgage the future to bring in 3 guys right. LeBron likes and wants to start with, and then that doesn't work out, and then next season we got to get rid of these 3 guys and do it all over again, and then we wonder why it hasn't worked.
Well, then you got one guy on the one guy in the front office who's running the cap going, I have no idea how we're going to do this. We are going to get. I mean, they get dinged every year by the NBA, even when they don't win championships, even when they don't make the playoffs. It's because they're very cap creative, but caps are not built to be rebuilt every year, and that seemingly is a problem. So we'll just have to see how this plays out. But this is definitely, it's got soap opera written all over it. And I think it's hilarious that the Clips are going to leave the Crypto Dome there and head across to Inglewood or Irvine. I'm sorry, Irvine, where no, it is Inglewood. Inglewood, where in the same parking lot with the football stadium. It's going to be a nice arena, from what I see. It's going to be
the Intuit Center.
Sorry.
The Intuit Center.
Yes, the Intuit Center. I kind of, it's kind of funny they change names of these buildings so often that I think that is so much fun for you and I to rename the building so that they get a chance to see. But yeah, I think that the times are going to be tough over at the Crypto Dome for the Royal Purple and Gold. It's not going to be fun. One more thing on ratings wise. Do you think that the NBA can generate ratings if they don't have LA and Golden State in the playoffs?
Well, I mean, they're gonna have to this year, right? I guess it depends, right? They're probably gonna need an Eastern market like the Celtics or the Knicks. I'm sure that'll pull in, and I'm sure that's what they want is the Eastern Conference Finals. The writing's already on the wall for Knicks.
Boston, New York, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that'll maybe generate enough revenue to make up for the West, especially if we get Minnesota, OKC. That's going to be would be a brutal one for the West this year, regardless.
That would be, but in fairness, those are 2 good teams.
Oh, they're might be the 2 best teams in the they'll be the two best teams in the West for sure. I mean, the Nuggets haven't shown they're the second best team, but. Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't think ratings wise that would be too good. Minnesota, OKC.
No, that would definitely be that would be like Texas and Arizona in Major League Baseball in the World Series. Friends and family will watch.
Wait a minute.
I'm not saying that I'm not throwing shade. I'm just simply saying people don't know them. I mean, that's the problem. It's certain teams and you rely on not just the NBA fans, but the casual fans as well. And if the casual fans don't know who these people are, then that's it. But I think that the league has to do a better job of selling some of these guys.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like there's no old stars really in it anymore, right? Your oldest is like what, Jokic and Doncic are the two oldest
Right.
faces, because then Minnesota, we got Ant Edwards over there, it's like 22. Shy Gilgeous Alexander and the Thunder of the third youngest team in the entire NBA. So yeah, it's a lot of young face. Even the Pacers, very young team there with Tyrese Halliburton is obviously the face. I know Siakam's been picking up a lot of the slack since he got there, but
Yeah.
Halliburton, I would still say, is the face there. And the Knicks, they got the young guys as well.
Sure. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that works out. Speaking about interesting, if you want to have an interesting afternoon and evening, check what's in the show box below that Amadeus has for you. Why don't you give us a preview there, boss?
Yeah, make sure you check out my premium picks at bigal.com, pickadvisor.com, and theinsidersroom.com. The links are in the description below. I got a big Champions League total of the month that starts in 10 minutes at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So go check that out. I also have, 6 plays on the pitch in South America for between Copa Libertadores and Copa Sudamericana tonight, including my Copa Sudamericana total of the week. So make sure you go check that out. I also have one NBA play up as well. So
there you go. Plenty of different to by all means check it. We'll have some fun with it. And I'm sorry, did you say you did or didn't have a game at 3 o'clock?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so you do have a Champions League game. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let me let you all go so you can bolt down to the show box and head out and get it. But we will see you tomorrow. Everybody have a great day. And, it's one of those things where we're just going to hope that you enjoy it. And please, if you have a chance, subscribe, hit that bell. And like us. You're likable people. If you put a comment down in the show box, we definitely will answer it. So do that, and we will see you tomorrow, everybody. For Amadeus, I'm Jim. Be well. Take care.